What's up, everybody? Coach Ceelo here, the No Bullshit Six Figure Sales Podcast, and I'm going to give you some sauce today. For my high-ticket closers, for my timeshare sales reps, for anybody who has a structured presentation, everybody knows what the discovery is, the information gathering stage. I'm going to talk about something that I don't even know if I should, but I will anyway. This is something that I usually only show my mentoring students to do, but I want to give some value. I always said that even if you don't have the money to afford me, if you listen to me and you listen to enough of these, you're still going to get the sauce. You're just not going to get it as fast and as direct as if we did one-on-one, but you're still going to get the sauce. So here's the sauce. Today we're going to talk about many different ways of calling it. They call it the information confirmation. They call it the discovery summary. Basically, it is a summary of everything that you got during the discovery. Now, let me explain something. During your information gathering stage, and up until your information gathering stage, you have not sold one thing. Up until that moment in your presentation, what you have done, depending on whether it's one-on-one, face-to-face, or whether it's over the phone or through Zoom, you've done a couple of things. You may have warmed them up. Maybe yes, maybe no. It depends on the type of presentation you were doing. You definitely displayed some type of authority. You definitely took control of the call. You showed that you were a leader. You showed that there was a genuine concern in wanting to help them. You've given them some type of intent of how this call is going to go. And then you went into this discovery where you are finding out all of the problems and you're discovering everything that you're going to need to make the sale, and hopefully having them discover what are the things that have been holding them back. Now, that's not what today's conversation is going to be. It's going to be on what you do at the end. Now, there are schools of sales, both in high ticket and elsewhere, that do not do a discovery summary. I'm telling you right now, that's the worst mistake you could ever do. Because if not, you're not going to be able to start selling until the pitch. However, if you do a discovery summary, you could do your very first tie down right here. So, what is the discovery summary? Well, the word says it. You're summarizing everything that they told you. Now, if you did the discovery correctly, you already know every single thing that you needed to be able to close this sale. You know what their dominant buying motive is? The main reason why they're going to buy. The main one. You know what all of the ancillary buying motives are, so all of the other reasons that you can stack along with that reason of why they should buy. You know all the bullshit excuses of why they haven't bought yet. You know how long they've been considering buying or how long they've had this problem. You know what the future outcome is, where they want to be. You know what that gap is between where they are and where they want to be. And you've been able to fish out all of the things that have prevented them from doing it. Now, there's a couple of levels to this. It's the things that they say have prevented them from doing it. That's number one. The things they didn't say, but are obvious to you now of why. Could be fear, could be hesitation. There's many other reasons aside from what they're saying that you should have already figured out that you're going to point out. And then the consequences of action and the consequences of inaction. So what the light at the end of the tunnel looks like if you do it and if you don't do it. So now this is when you come back and you feed it back to them. Just like everything else in a script, the transition is really important. You just finished getting all of this information from them, which they gave to you freely. Most of the time, you might have had to have nudged, pushed, pulled a little bit. So now what you want to do is you want to continue to increase rapport by showing them not only that you listened and that you care, but that you understand them better than they do. I call it the snapshot. So a lot of the times I'll tell them, so let me just give you my summary on what I've understood, just as my snapshot. Tell me if I've got it right. This is what I understand. And now I'm going to go back and repeat every single thing that I heard on the discovery in the order that I heard it and how. Now, if there are certain things that you don't want to reinforce, you don't mention those, or you don't mention them as hard. And there are things that you want to reinforce, you're going to go deeper in there. You're going to put more salt in that wound. But the whole point is to go back and read back everything that they said. And you're going to do it almost in the same order that you asked it. Now, typically what I will do is I'm going to go through the whole thing. There's a sequence of questions. There's 3 questions that I always ask at the end. I don't have time for that right now, but there's a sequence of questions that I do that are kind of like, I'm going to use them at the close later. And so what I'll do is I'll go through everything. So they're hearing me repeat everything back. So you said that you've been wanting to fix this problem for the past 5 years. You haven't had success in trying to fix the problem. The things that you have tried in the past have not worked. You realize that you need to fix the problem. Not only that, but you also understand that if you don't fix the problem, this and this and this and this is going to make things even worse. You realize that if you do fix the problem, then easily you can see yourself at this end result that you want to do. And now I'm going to pre-handle some of the objections in the format of this summary. So you already discovered what their objections were going to be, right? So now you're going to minimize that. You're going to say, now you have a little bit of a concern with the money, with your wife, with whatever it is that they were saying. You're not going to handle the objection completely here, but what you're going to do is you're going to minimize the objection. You're going to make it sound a heck of a lot smaller than it is compared to this huge problem, right? So you've got this huge problem and you've got this even bigger outcome, this light at the end of the tunnel. The light at the end of the tunnel is the largest thing. You've got this big problem, which is also very large, but it's not bigger than the light at the end of the tunnel. The light at the end of the tunnel, even this problem is worth going through to get the light at the end of the tunnel. And then you've got these little objections, these little things that are preventing us from solving this problem that will get us to the light at the end of the tunnel. You understand what I'm saying? So you're going through your summary and you're repeating everything back to them. And then you're going to hit that part and say, and you've got a little bit of concern with XXXX, whatever it may be. Make it sound small. Little concern with, but you already know, and so this is where you're going to sprinkle in. I talked about seeding a few episodes ago. This is where you're going to seed in the answer. You're pre-handling the objection without completely handling it. Sometimes, by the way, this is all you got to do. So, for example, if they said that that the money was the issue, you said you have this little concern with being able to afford it, but I just want to, and sometimes I'll even say it like this, I just want to plant a little seed in your head. I just want you on the back of your mind to understand that that little concern of the money is nothing compared to the financial problems that it has caused you not to solve this. And it's certainly nothing compared to the light at the end of the tunnel, which is what you want to do. So really, if we think about that, that's really actually not a problem. So what you've done is you've taken what were their little bullshit excuses, you've minimized them in comparison to the problem and much more in comparison to the light at the end of the tunnel. And then you've sprinkled a little bit of explaining how you might have to go back and retouch it later when you're going over the objection handling. But many times, just by doing that, you've already, because what you did is you acknowledged the problem they said and you've taken it out of the way. Basically, what you're doing is that arrow that they had in the quiver that they were going to shoot through your heart later. By the way, they may not have realized that during the discovery, if you did it right and you do it the way I trained you to do it, you're pulling all of these things out before they even come out. So what's going to happen is that inner resistance that they have of not moving forward, that was one of those things they were going to save at the end to kind of be like their saving grace, their exit out of this so that they won't have to make the decision. We're going to remove that arrow from the quiver so that at the end, they are going to be facing themselves. They are going to be facing the decision of, I've got this problem and I got the light at the end of the tunnel and I have a way of fixing this problem. And that's it. There are not going to be these little excuses of time and money and spouse. That's going to be out of the way. Now, what you and I are going to be handling are the bigger problems, like the uncertainty, like belief in themselves, the real problems behind the problems. That's why we get paid the money that we get paid, not because of spouse and time and money. But if you get this out of the way, they're going to have to face the bigger issue, right? So you're going to, again, you're doing the discovery summary. You're going to start summarizing everything that they say. By the way, very important, when you're doing the summary, you're using their exact language, their exact phrases. If they said that something made them feel like they were at the bottom of a bottomless pit, don't say you felt like you fell in a hole and you can't get out. No, they said they were at the bottom of a bottomless pit. You are going to say, and you said that sometimes you feel like you're at the bottom of a bottomless pit. Why? Because when you're using their own words, anytime that they're not stupid guys, they know they're on a sales presentation. And so anything that you say, until they come to that realization in their mind that you're actually there to help them, and it will happen if you do this right. But until they come to that moment, they are thinking everything this person is saying is to get me to buy, and therefore everything that I have to say is to protect me from this. So everything you say is received with a certain amount of hesitation. Their mind is not going to let it in. It's going to want to analyze everything. But when you're using their own words, that goes right in because you're not the one who said it. They did. You're just repeating what they said. That's the logic behind it, right? So you're going to repeat everything back to them exactly the way they said. And then you're going to get to that part where you say, and you've got a slight hesitation with XXX, but I mean, really, when we think about it, it's really not that big of an issue because when compared to this and this and this, it's a non-issue anyway. And if I could show you how you can get X, X, and X, which are the three things that they said they most wanted, that's where you're sticking in the dominant buying motive and maybe one or two of the ancillary motives that I talked about pulling out later, then I think that we're pretty solid in being able to help you that, now is the time, today's the day, I'm the person that's going to be able to help you do that. Does that sound about right? Does that make sense? That's your first tie down. Now, you're still not selling because you're at the back end of the discovery, but that's the first time you're going to do a tie down with them. And that's going to be the very first temperature check where you're going to know where you're at with them and where they're at, more importantly. Because again, I say this time and time again, and people still don't, there are still closers out there that are making six figures, and they still haven't figured this out. They still think that it's us against them. They still think that you're making money because you're able to push people and persuade people to do things that they didn't want to do. And you could maybe pop six figures doing that. You're not going to stay doing it for long, though. You are here to help people solve a problem. And you have the solution to solving the problem. The minute that they understand that you're on their side and you're trying to help them, now it's going to get uncomfortable because there are decisions that they don't want to make. Hello? If that weren't the case, they wouldn't need you. There are decisions that they're having trouble making, and your leadership is going to help them cross that bridge. Now, there's a hell of a lot more to it than that, because for your leadership to come through, they have to know, like, trust, and respect you, but that comes in the earlier part of the presentation. At this point, you've demonstrated to them by the quality of your questions that you know what the hell you're doing. And based on their own answers, they've realized now that they really do need your help. And so all we're going to do is make sure that we remove those arrows from the quiver that are stupid, senseless. They're not even real. They're excuses. Those aren't the real reasons why they're going to decide or not. But these are ones that you're going to get out of the way so that they are forced to face the real issues. And if they really want to solve that problem, you're going to have the solution for them. Guys, this is what sales is. This is actually the nitty-gritty of what we do on a high-ticket level. And if you can get yourselves to understand that, congratulations, you've graduated to the next level. This is where you're supposed to be. If you're not there yet, that's okay. You're going to get it eventually. You'll get it. You'll understand that. But the sooner that you can get yourself out of that mentality that I'm going to be making six figures because I'm just going to push until somebody pops, you're not servicing anybody there. You're not serving anybody. All you're doing is just trying to make money. Money is just a way of exchanging value. People have a problem, we help them fix it. That's it. The better you are at helping people with their problems, the more money you're going to make. But it's not the more money you're going to make because the better you are at fooling people or pushing them on making decisions that weren't right for them. Now, you could say I'm good at pushing people to make decisions that were right for them. I would rather you say persuade. But the point is, it's not about the push. It's about removing the bullshit excuses that they tell themselves even, so that they will have to face themselves, because it's not them against you. It's both of you against that problem. And the minute that you understand that, that is the minute when you not only make it to the six-figure club, but you'll stay there. Guys, my name is Coach Ceelo, and I have helped thousands of other salespeople, entrepreneurs, business professionals, offer owners reach, attain, maintain six figures. You keep listening to me, you'll be the next.